welcome to Precious Wellness. Hi, I'm Karen Piper, the host of Precious Wellness, and today we have a special guest. We have Patrick. Patrick is a hypnotherapist from Mind Ease, and today we're going to talk about depression. You know, depression is such a big topic and such a big issue, widespread issue within the community, and a lot of people do not like to talk about depression.
Right.
So actually, I'm going to start off with asking Patrick about his journey with depression, because I know, Patrick, that you were from a different line and you actually went into being a hypnotherapist because of depression. So I just really want you to share a bit about your journey with depression and why you actually end up being a hypnotherapist.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Karen, for having me. It's my great pleasure and honor to be featured in this series of interview. I hope by sharing my journey, it will give people some hope there is actually a light in the tunnel. So back to my case, I have been in the IT industry for 20 over years until the time when I got depressed without my knowing. Too many things stripped under the carpet. Then I took 1 year of no pay leave, thinking time may heal. Which never did. When I have to get back to the workplace, and the things start to have a lot of things. I would say with the depression or depressive symptom, it sent my life upside down for quite some time, a period of time. And I feel lost. I feel a lot of things and make a lot of wrong decisions. Actually, the mind was super crowded and very pessimistic. All these, whatever symptom that you go through the checklist, I actually meet most of them. And that started me to look for the cure. I wanted to get well as soon as possible to be my usual self. Then that's where I started to see counselor. I went to see one, give me some good pointers, thing for me to look into it. Then I went to see psychiatrists. I actually saw two, just to get a second opinion. The psychiatrists, what they usually do is they also go through the checklist, or some they never even did. Then they start to prescribe medication, which is the usual route, because they see it's the same method. You go and see doctor, they will expect to give you some medication, or that is the quickest way, because they couldn't spend that much of time to really help you to nail down into the root cause. Then the psychiatrist also referred me to see psychologist. Psychologist is okay, but you have to get hold of the time. That is the tough part. And also it takes time to build up the rapport or relationship. Then at the same time, I went to see hypnotherapists. Same thing. I saw two different approach. One is positive, forward-looking. Forget about the past. You just need to chart a positive future. The other one actually use the approaches help me to try to trace back what was the root cause of it. So that may help to those that is having a curious mind, actually why you end up into that state. So everything I tried both. Then ultimately, I find the hypnotherapy actually is quite direct and is natural without taking any medication, which is not my preference as well. Because my dad actually had major depression for most of his life, and he relied a lot on sleeping pills. And towards the last part, it took him a lot of time to unwind the sleeping pills. So I know going for medication route is like a point of no return. I very resist to it. So I'm glad that I seek the help from the hypnotherapists, and they help me to understand myself a lot better. And I wouldn't say these are the main thing that everyone should try, but I think no harm, give it a shot. If you are wanted to explore different options, at least they give you a lot of more leeway or choices for you to think about it. Yeah, but they are pros and cons. Yeah.
So let me get a bit more personal, as in like, what were your worst days like? Give me an example of your worst days being in depression.
Worst days, you will feel like, what's the point? That actually symptom has always surfaced when I was in my previous job towards the last part. You feel you don't find the meaning of the things. What's the point of doing all this? You find meaningless, and you lost a lot of the passion or the hope that you used to enjoy without even you knowing. That means you like become another person altogether. You may not know, you may notice or not knowing it, but you will try to bury with some other things. Just try to distract yourself that I'm not. But deep down in your mind, you may feel something is not going in the right way. Then the other one, that's in the mental perspective. The other one is you will feel in the physical. In my case, I woke up early and then I have cold sweat. That means my sleeping quality already being affected.
Right.
So that is another telltale sign that something is really, really not going in the right track. Then if you pass by, I stay on quite high floor. So when you pass by, you have that kind of like silly thought.
Right.
Would the thing be once and for all? And you will have that, right? I think it will gradually build up during the day. But when before work, I go up and pass by, wow, then that is the sort of the scary thoughts. I mean, those are things that you can, when you're in a conscious mind, you will know it's not supposed to be. But sometimes your emotional thing just take over. Then you don't have that time to really dissect what is right or what is wrong. So you actually spend a lot of time a bit lost in the maze.
Right.
And you actually consume a lot of energy. Yeah.
And how long were you in depression for?
I think without my knowing, I have been dead for 2016, I believe I started. I took the no pay leave on 2017. Actually, around 2015 or 16, I already have started. I went to see some, but I didn't believe it. I thought it's nothing. Then until a point, I almost break down. Then I think it's enough is enough. I want to stop. Then the previous company, give me 1 year no pay leave. Then I used the time to rest, to recoup. And I thought time can heal, but it actually never did. Never really. If you have not been doing it, something. I started exercise quite late, towards my last few months of the no pay leave. Then I do exercising. It helps a bit. But when the rubber hits the road, when you have to go back and see the reality, face the reality, that's where the real testing ground comes in. And that's where you know something is actually not quite right. You get anxiety, you get whatever things, it all come in the same time. Yeah, you get butterfly in the stomach, you have all these kind of things, which last time when you're working, you may not feel it. But after you have been quiet down and then you go back to the work, then that's the whole thing comes in. That's where I think my internal stress has reached the highest point. And that's why I feel I really need to seek some help. And I started to look for those professional counselor, so on and so forth that I mentioned earlier on.
And a lot of times, when people have depression, right, they tend to hide it and they tend not to tell people about it because sometimes they feel the shame in having that condition, so-called condition. So what gave you that courage to start seeking help?
I have to say it's my family, especially my wife, telling me you are important to the family. You shouldn't do or think some other silly things. Think of the consequences. You still have the kids, whatever. Don't, because of certain things, affect you and make something drastically wrong. So like, she tried to bring me up from looking all within myself. I mean, being a male, middle age, you have that sort of pride. But I think at some point of time, like what we earlier on we chit chat is taking the first step.
Yeah.
You need to start to able to swallow your pride and take the first step that you really need some help. Really need to see some help.
And I think for you, like what you said, is like your family. Your family was the motivating factor. Your wife was the motivating factor to say,
Correct.
you know what, you need to get out of this rut that you are in. And I think that is a big motivating factor to have someone beside you who loves you, to actually push you into that direction of treatment.
Like what I shared, because it was haunting in my mind because of my dad's case. I knew and I know he had depression because he shared with me very openly, and he has suffered from it because he has been relying on a lot of medication. I don't know how many times he has been taking for how many years. Definitely sleeping pill is one of them, maybe antidepressant. But the later part of his age, he tried very hard to reduce it all by his own. And I see it's quite painful. So I very much, at that time I even studied, I thought, is it hereditary? But actually it's not. Everyone faces it differently. It's the individual. There's no such thing is high risk or whatever. Everyone may have it. Actually, the research say 1/6 of the Singaporean will have depression at least one time in their life. But depends on how fast, how soon they bounce back.
Yeah. So, like you said, you mentioned that you went to different people, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and a hypnotherapist. And I know you briefly mentioned the differences and all. So, which one had the most impact on you? You said the hypnotherapist, right? The hypnotherapist had the most impact on you.
Yeah, yeah. Because I saw two different stream of the one is positive looking, one is the go back to trace back to the past. Then in the tracing back of the past, it actually like opens me up a bit to some event which I may have even forgotten. Totally, you have forgotten. But when you get a chance to revisit the things, then you will start to ring a bell. Could that be that has already been planted way back in my life? Like a time bomb that is just recent event. It so happened it triggered. So that's why I after that I went to study the same school of thought when I took my professional qualification. That's where they explain the resonance effect. And that's where when we do the one of step is do the age regression. We try to trace back all the significant 9 events because that will get reviewed when the person is put into a hypnotic state. Only those that is meaningful, remarkable, then they will get shared. And when you come up, the insight will get generated. That means when you revisit the event with the current age, the current understanding, then you will be able to have a chance to coach that time the younger self. Maybe they have taken the thing wrongly, taken the thing too seriously or whatever.
So one of the questions that people would ask is that, you know, if I go to a psychiatrist, psychologist, or hypnotherapist and go for treatment, would it cure my depression? Would it come back? Would it come back? Yeah.
Okay, just put a caveat first. If in my current trade, hypnotherapy per se, we cannot use the word cure.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like a medical terms.
Yeah.
We will help the client to overcome their presenting issues. For example, they have depressive symptoms or they have high anxiety. So we will attack from that angle. We will address from that angle. Whether it will come back or not, I think very much depends on the individuals. If I put an analogy, for example, if the client come to see me, their mind is very crowded. They can't think straight. They feel very stressful. They feel that's the end of the world. I will use an analogy. For example, the aircon is like very choked. It's not cold anymore. So what I will do is I will help them to unmount the aircon with them. They are the one unmounting the aircon, have a break. Then I will come in as a aircon technician, help them to do the overhaul, clear up as much dust as possible so it become functional again. Then they can blow the fan. They will feel the coldness. That's what the aircon is supposed to be doing, right? Then after that, if the person doesn't do ongoing care, self-care, I can't foresee it, or I can't guarantee it will not get choked again. It depends on how they use the aircon. Do they use the aircon like not taking good care of it, or they don't do regular maintenance? That's why the regular maintenance is good to come in as a form of ongoing self-care and self-practice. So by helping them to unmount, that's what I do to them, one-time effort. But I do teach my client a self-hypnosis, which they can take it with them for the rest of their life to do their self-care, self-maintenance, so that they are aware and they can try to reduce whatever trigger, whatever stress that may be causing them in the future. So if they are really doing it, then they can prolong the lifespan of the aircon, the functioning part. But of course, this time the aircon could be due to choke. Next time the aircon could be another things. It could be some faulty parts. It could be appear in other issues. So put a simple way, if someone come to look for me to stop smoking, they may stop the smoking, but it could develop another bad habit or some other things. If their underlying needs is still not fully met, it could be they smoke because they lack of friendship, and they find that smoking they have the friendship. That's why they will do some other things. They may don't go for smoking, or they may do some other things. Yeah, maybe gamble or whatever. So it could vary because our mind is very you can't predict the thing exactly. Even two person come in for the same issues, the outcome may be totally different. Of course,
Right.
they may be able to resolve it, but after you don't know how long, how soon, another thing may pop up. But if another thing pop up, then we'll address from there. But usually our school of thought is if we can identify the root cause as early age as possible, then all the subsequent one will get resolved at the same time as well. So when people come in for one issues, when we go drill deeper, actually we may resolve some other additional thing as well. So
Right.
that is depends on how you see it. If they are able to do a very quick live review together with the hypnotherapy as a facilitator, they may actually resolve some of the other thing as a bonus as well. So it could be they come in for one issue, they clear more, or they could be coming in for one issue, they clear, but subsequently another thing come up, then we have to look into it.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Thank you for sharing about your journey. And actually, I just want to take this time also to share my journey with depression, actually, which actually not many people know about. And since we're on the topic of depression, and I personally suffered from depression for a long time. That was 10 years ago, actually, 10 years ago. And it took 10 years of healing to actually get over it. So yours is actually very fast, 2 years, and you seek therapy. But mine was a very, very different journey. Mine was a journey of not loving myself during my time of depression. But my journey of healing of 10 years was, of course, I wasn't like you. I mean, at that time I was quite young in college, university. Wasn't like you who went to seek therapy. So my journey of healing was actually with God. And during that 10 years, God had to break my old mindset of who I thought I was to who I am in Him, and that I am fully loved by Him, that I am precious in His sight.
Yeah.
And, it really took 10 whole years of changing and affirmation on His part. To know that, and I still remember one time that was the really like the final straw that broke the old stronghold. Like depression is like a chain around you, right? There are multiple chains around you.
Right, you can't have depression overnight here.
And
you can't wake up the next day, I am depressed here.
Yeah, and then, right, in order to break free of depression, you have to slowly cut off those mindset that you have, right? Or those issues that's buried down. It could be unforgiveness. It could be certain mindset about yourself. So you have to slowly snip off those chains that you believe, your old self. And I still remember, for me, the last chain that was broken that set me free from depression was I went to this conference, a Christian conference, and this person said that it was during a prayer time, and said, write a word that God speaks to you about this current situation. And that word that was given to me, as during the time of meditation, was the word precious. That's also why this name Precious Wellness, actually. So precious. And that word precious, when I wrote that word down, I just cried because, God was speaking to me and said that you are precious in His eyes. No matter what the world throws at you, no matter what negativity is around you, you will always be precious. No matter what past experience you had, that give you the mindset that you are not precious. And that affirmation sunk so deep into my heart and said that, you are precious. No matter what people tell you, no matter what you believe in yourself, that is not true. Because what is true in the eyes of God is that you're precious. So that was my journey with depression. And thankfully, touch wood, I haven't really been back into that cycle of
initially
depression.
I thought you could be like triggered by the post-natal.
No.
Okay, it's not.
No,
wow.
That was, my kid's only 5 years old. I broke away from depression 10 years ago. So yeah, so it's more of the identity I thought of myself, that I wasn't precious, that I wasn't good enough, or that I cannot do things. So that was sort of the mindset that I had about myself. And the words of people around me that that made me feel that way.
Yeah.
So thank you, Patrick, for sharing with me your journey, and also gave me the opportunity to share my journey, which is something that a lot of people don't know. So next week, we're going to talk about debunking the myth of hypnotherapists, because a lot of times when I tell people, even now, even right now, if you tell me, why don't you see a hypnotherapist? You have this misconception about what a hypnotherapist do. So we're gonna leave it to next week, where we're gonna, I'm gonna get you to share about debunking the myth of hypnotherapy. So thank you for tonight. Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.